Let me say this clearly. If someone feels like your soulmate in only 2 weeks' time, that's not love. That's love bombing. And love bombing is not romance. It's not connection. It is control. Because real love doesn't rush you. Real connection doesn't overwhelm you. And real people don't try to secure your heart before they've even taken the time to get to know you. So if something feels instant, intense, and almost too perfect, you're not experiencing love. You're experiencing manipulation disguised as love. Hi, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Aaron. I talk about emotional well-being, mental health, spirituality, and the psychology behind toxic relationship patterns. And if this video hits a nerve, don't judge yourself. Love bombing is one of those dynamics that makes smart people feel confused because it's designed to. And today, I'm going to break this down properly. What love bombing actually is, how to recognize it early, why it feels so real, what it does to your mental health, and exactly how to protect yourself step by step. So let's get into it. So what happens? You meet someone and it feels instant. Like finally, this is it. They're texting you all day, complimenting you, telling you how special you are, talking about the future, and you're thinking, how did this happen so fast? It feels intense, it feels electric, it feels like love. Until suddenly, they pull away. The energy changes, the attention drops, and you're left feeling confused, rereading messages, wondering what you did wrong. If you've experienced that, I need you to understand something. That wasn't love. That was control disguised as love. So I want to be real with you. I've experienced this myself. I've been love bombed before, and at the time, I didn't recognize it. I had someone tell me that they loved me on the first day that they met me. They complimented my looks, my intelligence, attention, intensity, making it feel like this deep, instant connection. And at the time, it felt real. And looking back now, the red flags were all there because I ignored them. I was caught up in something that felt like chemistry, but it was actually unhealthy. And now, if I see any signs of love bombing, control, or manipulation, I don't analyze it. I don't question it. I don't try to understand it. I dip immediately. 2 fingers up, I'm out. Because I don't need to stay somewhere just to collect more proof. I'm not here to figure out red flags. I'm here to respect them. My peace is enough. So what is love bombing? Love bombing is when someone overwhelms you with intense affection, attention, and emotional intensity very early on before a real connection has had time to form. At first, it doesn't feel like manipulation. It feels like everything you've been waiting for. You meet someone and suddenly they are showering you with affection, constantly messaging you throughout the day, calling you for hours, sending long emotional texts, being overtly flirty and intense. It feels like they can't get enough of you. They might be overwhelming you with compliments, telling you how special you are, saying you're different from anyone else they've ever met, putting you on a pedestal. And it doesn't stop there. They might also buy you expensive or unexpected gifts, plan elaborate dates very early on, make big romantic gestures, treat you like you're already in a serious relationship. And then comes the future talk, quickly. They might say things like, I can see a future with you. I've never felt like this before. You're my soulmate. We're meant to be. Sometimes within days or weeks. And if you've been longing for connection, this can feel perfect, like you finally found your person. But here's the truth. Love bombing is not just affection. It's accelerated attachment. It's when someone creates the feeling of deep connection before a real relationship has even had time to form. So why does love bombing work? Now, here's where we go deeper. Love bombing works because of your brain and your nervous system. When someone floods you with attention, affection, validation, and intensity, your brain releases dopamine. Dopamine is the chemical linked to pleasure, reward, addiction. So what you're experiencing is not just emotional, it is chemical. You feel high, energized, chosen, and alive. And your brain starts associating that person with that feeling. But here's the problem. That emotional high happens before trust has been built. So your body attaches before your mind has assessed. And when that intensity is removed, you don't just feel sad, you feel withdrawal. You feel anxious, confused, and desperate for answers. Because you're not just missing the person, you're craving the feeling that they created. You're not addicted to them, you're addicted to the emotional high that they introduce you to. Love bombing is not romance. It's not someone just really liking you. It's when someone floods you with attention, affection, and intensity before they've even taken the time to know you. And the reason they do that is not connection. It is control. Because when someone overwhelms you like that, something very specific happens. You lower your guard. You trust quickly. You open up and you attach. And once you're emotionally attached, they have influence. They don't want to build trust. They want to accelerate it. They don't want connection over time. They want access now. Because access gives them control. And control gives them power. They want access to your time, attention, emotions, and vulnerability. Because the faster that someone can make you feel seen, special, or chosen, the faster you trust them, open up, and attach. And once you're attached, they have influence. They bypass the natural process of building trust. This is not intimacy. This is intensity without foundation. So how do love bombers get you to lower your guard? Love bombers are not random. They are strategic. Again, consciously or unconsciously, the outcome is the same. They create intensity so you don't stop and question it. They overwhelm you so you don't take your time. They validate you so you don't doubt them. And they mirror you so you feel like, this person gets me. But what's actually happening is they are fast tracking emotional intimacy without earning it. Because if they can get you to feel chosen, seen, or special, then you are far more likely to ignore the red flags. That's how the hook works. Once your guard is down, the dynamic changes. Because the goal was never about connection. It was about access. And once they have access, they don't need to maintain the same amount of effort. So you might notice the messages slow down, their effort drops, the consistency disappears, or they've already got what they wanted from you. Validation, control, attention, or sex. Once they have it, they withdraw or disappear. And this is where you get stuck. Because you're attached to the version of them that never actually existed. You're still responding to the version of them that love bombed you while trying to understand the version of them that replaced it. Now, I want to be very clear about something, because this goes deeper than just toxic dating behavior. Love bombing is not just something that happens in unhealthy relationships. It is a pattern that can also be seen in more serious forms of manipulation, including grooming. And I want to say this carefully, because not everyone who love bombs is consciously doing this. But the pattern is the same. Grooming is about building trust quickly, lowering someone's guard, and creating emotional dependency. And love bombing also does that. It creates intense connection, rapid trust, and emotional vulnerability before someone has even had the time to properly assess who they are dealing with. And once that trust is built, once your guard is down, That's when the dynamic can shift. This is why it can feel so confusing, because the same behavior that made you feel safe, chosen, and special is the same behavior that made you vulnerable. And this is not about blaming you, it's about understanding how powerful this pattern actually is. Because when you understand what's happening, you stop internalizing it and you start protecting yourself. So what types of people love bomb? Now, here's something important to understand. Love bombing is a behavior, not a clinical diagnosis. And not everyone who love bombs is sitting there consciously thinking, I'm going to manipulate this person. But the impact is the same. In many cases, people who love bomb fall into a few patterns. The first one is people with deep insecurity. Some people don't feel secure in themselves, so they overcompensate. They give you everything all at once because they're trying to secure your attention, secure your validation, and secure your presence. But that intensity is not coming from confidence. It's coming from fear. And once that fear is triggered again, they withdraw or disappear. The second type is people with narcissistic tendencies. Now, this doesn't mean that we diagnose everyone, but some people do use love bombing as a deliberate tool to gain control, to feel powerful, to feel admired. You become a source of validation for them. And once that validation is secured or no longer enough, the dynamic changes. The third type is people who are emotionally unavailable. These are the people who love the idea of connection, but can't sustain it. They enjoy the high, the beginning, the intensity, and the excitement. But when things become too real, they pull away. Because real intimacy requires emotional capacity, not just chemistry. The fourth type are people who are chasing a feeling and not a relationship. Some people are addicted to the honeymoon phase. They love the chase, the attention, and the excitement, but they're not actually looking to build something stable. So they create intensity, but they can't maintain consistency. The fifth type are people with unresolved trauma or attachment wounds. If someone has experienced inconsistent love growing up, they may equate intensity with connection. So they repeat the pattern without even realizing that they are creating harm. And here's the key point. Regardless of the reason, the outcome is the same. It creates confusion, emotional dependency, and a loss of stability. So instead of asking, what's wrong with me? The better question is, what pattern am I experiencing? So love bombing is not just isolated to romantic relationships. And this is something that a lot of people don't even realize. It can also happen in friendships, family dynamics, even work environments. Because again, this is not about love. It is about control. For example, you might meet a new friend who's suddenly very intense, constantly messaging you, wanting to spend all of their time with you, telling you how amazing you are. At first, it feels flattering, like you've met someone who really values you. But then you might notice they become upset if you make plans without them, overly involved in your life very quickly, and dependent on your time and attention. And if you try to create space or set a boundary, their behavior changes. The same can happen in family relationships. For example, after conflict or distance, a family member might suddenly become overly affectionate, shower you with praise, offer help or buy gifts, act like everything is perfect. But that affection is not consistent, because the moment you assert yourself or set a boundary, the warmth disappears, or it turns into guilt, pressure, or emotional withdrawal. And this is where it gets confusing, because it looks like love, but it feels unstable. And that instability is the clue. Healthy relationships, whether romantic, friendship, or family, do not require intensity to maintain connection. They are consistent. They respect boundaries and they allow space. So if something feels too intense, too fast, or too consuming, it's worth paying attention to that. Because love bombing is not about the type of relationship. It's about the pattern. Why does love bombing feel so real? Now, this is important because people blame themselves for this. You didn't fall for it because you're naive. You fell for it because it was designed to feel real. Because intensity can feel like intimacy, especially if you've experienced inconsistency, abandonment, emotional neglect, or unstable love growing up. Your nervous system learns that love feels intense. So when someone comes in strong, your body doesn't say, this is too much. It says, finally. Your body recognizes the pattern before your mind questions it. And I want to say this clearly. This is not about you being clingy, needy, or dramatic. You're responding to something real. But real does not always mean healthy, because familiar does not mean safe. Love bombing doesn't just feel intense. It affects your mental health, because what you're experiencing is emotional whiplash. At first, you feel high, confident, validated, and chosen. And then it shifts. And that shift creates anxiety, confusion, self-doubt, and emotional exhaustion. You start asking yourself, what did I do wrong? Why did they change? Was it even real? And over time, this erodes your self-esteem because you start internalizing their inconsistency. You begin to doubt your own intuition, your judgment, even your own self-worth. And this is how control deepens, because the more confused you become, the more you look to them for reassurance. This is how emotional manipulation turns into self-doubt, because you stop questioning them and you start questioning yourself. Now, this is where the cycle comes in, because love bombing rarely exists on its own. It usually follows a pattern. Love bombing, then breadcrumbing, and then ghosting. Love bombing is the hook. Breadcrumbing is when the attention becomes inconsistent, just enough to keep you wanting more, but never enough to feel secure. And this creates something powerful called a trauma bond, where your brain becomes attached to the cycle of highs, lows, connection, and withdrawal. This is called intermittent reinforcement, where unpredictable attention creates stronger emotional attachment. It's the same principle that makes gambling addictive. So when they pull away, you feel anxiety. And when they come back, you feel relief. And that relief feels like love. But it is not love. It is conditioning. Then comes the part that really confuses people, the devaluation. They become cold, distant, critical. The same person that once made you feel special now makes you feel like you're not enough. And sometimes they don't even stay. They disappear. They ghost you. No explanation, no closure, and you're left trying to understand how someone seemed so invested could vanish. But the truth is, that version of them was never who they said they were. It was a performance. Now I want to touch on something important, because this behavior can also be linked to toxic masculinity. And what I mean by that is a mindset where control is prioritized over connection. Dominance is valued over emotional depth. Validation comes from winning someone instead of building something real. Some men are conditioned to approach relationships like a pursuit, something to conquer, something to secure. And love bombing fits into that perfectly because it's intense, it's performative, it gets results quickly, but it's not sustainable because it's not built on emotional maturity. And just to be clear, this is not all men, and women can absolutely do this too. But this pattern often shows up in people who have not developed emotional awareness. So if you're listening to this and thinking, Okay, how do I actually protect myself from this? I want to give you something practical because awareness is powerful, but awareness without action can still leave you feeling vulnerable. So here's a step-by-step guide to protecting yourself from love bombing, breadcrumbing, and trauma bonding. Save this. Step 1, slow everything down. This is the first thing and probably the most important. Slow the pace down because love bombing relies on speed. It wants to rush intimacy, rush trust, rush attachment. It wants you emotionally invested before you've had time to observe or really get to know the person. So if someone comes in intense, don't match the intensity. Slow it down. Take longer to reply. Say no to seeing them every day. Don't get pulled into heavy future talk too quickly because someone healthy will respect the pace. Someone manipulative will get frustrated by it. If slowing down changes their energy, then that tells you something. Step 2, stop confusing intensity with compatibility. Just because something feels strong doesn't mean it's right. And this is where a lot of people get caught because intensity feels exciting. It feels passionate. It feels like chemistry. But chemistry is not the same as compatibility. And intention is not the same as emotional safety. So ask yourself, do I actually know this person? Do I know how they handle disappointment? Do I know how they treat other people? Do I know what they're like when they don't get what they want? Because anybody can be charming for the first few weeks. Character is what shows up over time. Step 3, watch actions more than words. Love bombers are often very good with words. That's part of how the hook works. They know how to say the right thing. They know how to create the feeling. But words are easy. What you need to watch is behavior. Do their actions match what they say? If someone says, I care about you, but they ignore your boundaries, that's not care. If someone says, I really like you, but they're pushing you faster than you feel comfortable, that's not connection. If someone says, I've never felt like this before, but becomes inconsistent the second you stop giving them full access, that's not love. That is a red flag. So stop being hypnotized by language and start observing patterns. Step 4, set boundaries early and clearly. This is where a lot gets revealed. Not aggressively, not defensively, just clearly. For example, tell them, I like to take things slow. I'm not available to text all day. I need time with my friends as well. I'm not ready to talk about the future like that yet. Then watch their response. Because the response is information. A healthy person may not love every boundary, but they will respect it. A manipulative person will push back, guilt trip you, act hurt, make you feel cold, question your boundaries, or try to wear you down. And once someone starts punishing you for having boundaries, you already have your answer. Step 5, stay connected to your real life. Love bombing works best when the other person becomes your whole emotional world. That's why it's so important to stay connected to your own life. Keep seeing your friends, keep your routine, keep your hobbies, keep your standards, keep your identity. Do not let someone you met 2 weeks ago become the center of your emotional universe. Because the more quickly you build your entire world around them, the harder it becomes to think clearly when they pull away. Staying connected to your real life helps you stay grounded in reality, instead of getting lost in fantasy. Step 6, listen to your body, not just your hope. A lot of people ignore early warning signs because they want it to work. And I understand that, especially if you've been longing for connection. But your body often notices the red flag before your mind is willing to admit it. So ask yourself, do I feel calm around this person? Or do I feel activated? Do I feel safe? Or do I feel slightly anxious and overwhelmed? Do I feel lonely even when I'm with them? Do I feel like myself, or do I feel like I'm performing, overthinking, and trying to keep up? Because healthy love may not feel exciting, but it should not feel destabilizing. Your body knows the difference if you're willing to listen. Step 7, don't ignore inconsistency. This is a big one. One of the clearest signs of danger is inconsistency. Not a one-off bad day, not someone being human. I mean a pattern. A pattern where someone is obsessed with you 1 minute and then distant the next. Affectionate when they want something, cold when they don't. That inconsistency is not something to romanticize. It is not depth. It is not mystery. It is not passion. It is instability. And instability is where trauma bonds grow. So don't make excuses for inconsistency. Name it. Because once you name it, you can stop normalizing it. Step 8, do not chase when the energy shifts. This is one of the hardest things to do, but one of the most important. When the energy shifts, do not immediately chase. Do not start over-explaining, over-giving, over-texting, over-functioning, or trying to drag the relationship back. Because that is exactly where the cycle deepens. The moment you start chasing the version of them from the beginning, you are already being trained into the trauma bond. So instead of chasing, pause, observe, let the inconsistency speak for itself, and ask, what am I actually experiencing here? Not what did they say, not what did it feel like at the beginning, what is happening now? Because the present moment will tell you the truth. Step 9, get support before you get trapped. Love bombing is much harder to spot when you're inside it. So talk to someone, a trusted friend, a therapist, a coach, or someone grounded, not someone who feeds fantasy. You need someone who can reflect reality back at you. Someone who can say, this is too much too soon. That doesn't sound healthy. That shift is not normal. Because often when you're in the middle of the cycle, you will minimize it, especially if you want to believe the best. So get perspective early, not just when you're already heartbroken. Step 10, be willing to leave at the first clear pattern. This is the part that people struggle with because they want more proof. But when the red flags are consistent, you do not need a courtroom level of evidence. You need self-respect. If someone is love bombing you, disrespecting your boundaries, becoming inconsistent, making you anxious, making you question yourself, that is enough. You do not need to wait until it becomes more painful. You do not need to wait until they fully discard you. You're allowed to leave the second your peace starts disappearing. And that is what self-protection looks like. Because clarity doesn't come from waiting any longer. It comes from accepting what you're already seeing. So my final message is, love should not feel like confusion. Love should not feel like anxiety. Love should not feel like something that you have to chase. Healthy love is calm. It's consistent. It's safe. If something feels intense and overwhelming, that is not a sign to lean in. That is a sign to pause. If someone is trying to rush you, overwhelm you, or pull you in quickly, that is not love. That is control. Because real love grows over time. It doesn't flood. It doesn't overwhelm you. And anything that tries to rush access to you is not love. It is control. And you deserve better than that. You don't need to experience confusion to earn connection. And anything that starts with chaos will not end in peace. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, don't forget to hit the notification bell, comment below, and like and subscribe for more healing content. Thank you so much. I love you. Have a blessed day. Take care. Bye.